Welcome to this executive roundtable. It's Evan Kirstel, and I'm thrilled really to host a session here with Big Data Exchange, or BDX for short. I'm Evan Kirstel, the roundtable moderator, and I really thank the folks out there for joining us. Look forward to an interactive session. And we'll carry on a discussion in parallel and on Twitter. The topic of the executive roundtable today is a look into Asia through the lens of BDX and how we might chart our way forward. I'll introduce the panel shortly, but with its origins in Hong Kong, BDX has taken us in this session through a front row view from the beginning of the crisis to the current period, and internet connectivity and communications has never been more important than it is now. So I look forward to leading this discussion on how BDX and its team can help companies in our space move forward through challenging times and into this new normal. I'm super pleased to introduce, a pretty impressive range of experts from BDX on the call today. Sujit, Panda, CTIO, maybe you could wave and say hello to the folks here. David Kim, COO at BDX. Hey, David. Abhijit Sinha, the commercial lead, on the call with us. Braham Singh, the CEO of BDX, who I'll be addressing in just a moment. And Mayank Srivastava, if I got the name right. Hi there. And we'll be chatting with you as well. And of course, again, we're having this conversation on video, but in parallel, we'd love your engagement, questions, feedback on Twitter at hashtag BDXPERT. So hashtag BDXPERT. And if you tweet at us and tweet at me at Evan Kirstel, I'm happy to retweet you and share and engage your thoughts on our conversation. So let's dive right in. Big Data Exchange, BDX, is kind of a new name here in North America. Well known outside the US and in Asia in particular. Braham, tell us more about BDX and the genesis of the company.
Thanks, Chris. BDX is a co-location provider. It's not in this day and age when everyone is trying to be good at everything. We just attempt to be great at one thing, and that is providing co-location and ensuring that our customers' physical and virtual infrastructure is secure. So that's what we are. We are young, and yet we are not. So we have acquired data centers in Nanjing, Guangzhou, Hong Kong, and Singapore. And all of these are profitable data centers, but put together under a new company, under a new logo, under BDX, into one data center cluster, one connected data center cluster. So that's what we are.
Fantastic. And we'll dive more into the company and the solution set over the course of the call. Nice to meet you here virtually, and thanks for joining at this late hour in Hong Kong. So, yeah. It's getting late in the evening.
It's fine. We work late, we play late. So that's what Hong Kong is all about. And by the way, our lockdown in Hong Kong is easing up. I just want to put this on record that while the world struggles, Hong Kong has had a grand total of 4 fatalities from COVID since December, because as soon as there was the first whiff of a problem, Hong Kong just hunkered down. Everyone donned a mask. Everyone practiced social distancing. In Hong Kong, they didn't need the government to tell them that. They followed the science, and look at us today. Yeah, completely. Yeah. So it's very impressive.
It is very impressive, and there are a lot of lessons to learn there. There's also going to be a lot of lessons to learn about best practices in the colo and data center space from our call today. So we have a lot to learn all around. Let's skip to David. There's a lot of talk about automation in our space. Almost a self-driving network, if you will, analogous to self-driving cars. But automation can mean different things to different people. You have a very unique approach to automation. Tell us what it is and really how it helps your customers in particular, David.
Hi, Evan. Nice to meet everyone here. So what this means for our customers in short is ease of consuming our services. And at the end of the day, peace of mind. As we all know, there's a large movement in the industry towards a hybrid cloud-based architecture. Increasingly, what this means is that our customers have a need to manage their workloads running on physical assets hosted in our data centers, as well as applications running in various clouds. Multi-cloud is a norm now. The BDX platform not only addresses this need, but makes it easy to accomplish this. In addition to our highly available, flexible co-location services, I partner closely with my friend and colleague, Panda, to deliver various value-added services to our customers. For example, our BDX single pane is a hybrid monitoring platform, providing our customers a way to monitor and manage their assets, including their network, their bare metal servers, their VMs, virtual machines, containers, databases, microservices, name it, we can manage it. And all of these things can be done in our data center or in your cloud infrastructure. Our BDX Soft Connect provides our customers a software-defined data center switching fabric. It provides an easy and frictionless way for our customers to connect to a network provider, a cloud services provider, or their applications hosted in other sites. This allows for substantial savings in time and in man hours in connecting their workloads across multiple data centers and clouds. So this too is all accessible via our BDX single pane portal, which all customers have access to when you become a customer of BDX. This is in addition to other features that allows you to request support and services to our global service desk, accessing your account information and billing activity, service reports and other information such as power and environmental information pertaining to your infrastructure, and updates from your service and support tickets that you interact with the global operations team on. The BDX automation isn't only available to customers. It is core and central to how the global operations team manages our sites for high availability and delivering on great customer experience. Our BDX Global Operating Platform, or BGOP, consists of a centralized service desk and operations center where we proactively monitor and manage our sites. We respond quickly to changing environmental conditions through a bunch of sensors and optics implemented locally on site, along with automated alerts set up for dispatching the right techs and the right service partners as soon as there is a need. This ensures we react quickly to events in our data centers and ultimately responding and reacting to customer needs. So as you can see, using this power of technology and automation is fundamental in how BDX serves our customers and run our operations.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. It sounds like you're on the deck of the Starship Enterprise, managing these networks. That's pretty impressive. But in all seriousness, that must be particularly compelling now with staffing and physical access issues and limitations of travel and access to buildings. It sounds like now automation is really paramount to running an effective network.
That's right. That's right, Evan. It helps us focus our manpower on the problem at hand and enables us to respond quickly to customer needs. So.
Impressive. Well, speaking of customers, Abhijit, what's a typical BDX customer profile? What is the sweet spot, if you will, for your business and the kinds of customers you're helping in particular?
Thanks, Evan. BDX currently works with a very well diversified customer base across multiple verticals, largely based out of the APAC region. We have some customers out of the Western regions as well, Europe and America. We cater to cloud node or edge deployments for the cloud and OTT providers. In fact, about 40 to 50% of our revenues actually come from these sort of deployments. We also cater to large DCDR deployments for the enterprise sector. We have a few big customers who have deployments for us there, is from the finance and transport verticals. And we also have smaller deployments from the SMB sector through a great network of sales reps and channel partners that we have, mostly over the sectors of logistics, education, as well as some system integrators that we partner with. Having these sort of this diversified base and this sort of edge node deployment in our data center helps us with the required data gravity that helps us attract the retail customer segment as well, which is something that the sector is looking for to interconnect cheaply with the cloud providers of choice. And through both of these disparate type of verticals being in the same space, we can allow them to do so at a lower cost, as well as taking away the latency part of it if they had to connect differently. What we don't do right now is hyperscale buildouts. The large double-digit megawatts, single tenant hyperscale buildouts that you see a lot of the firms in the news do. We don't do those buildouts right now. I believe that's not the sweet spot that we operate in. We are primarily focused on what Braham and David had alluded to, a hybrid cloud or a cloud adjacent type of customer.
Well, that's good to know. And when I was traveling in Singapore and Hong Kong last year, it was amazing to see how dynamic the telecom and data center landscape is. As we emerge then into the crisis of COVID and the pandemic, you know, how has the environment changed, and how have you kind of helped customers navigate through these changes? I mean, I don't know when I'll get back to Hong Kong or Singapore, given the lockdowns. I suspect it'll be quite a long time. Maybe you can give us a snapshot of the environment there now and how customers have dealt with all this, you know, massive change in their environments.
I think there's probably a report out I think somebody, probably attendees on the call, are probably writing reports about the impact of the COVID-19 on macroeconomic indicators, etc. So I'll keep my comments brief to what I've seen over our customers.
Yes.
We've essentially sort of seen a lot of our customers, especially in the verticals of aviation, retail, auto. There's been a definite rolling back of spending, right? And we've seen some promising opportunities get delayed. Even sectors that were sort of considered Teflon at a certain point of time, like healthcare, have been hit hard, and we have some customers in that space as well. So they've had some opportunities delayed as well over there. However, having this diversified customer base that I spoke about helps us at least mitigate those risks a little bit. We've also seen certain sectors where the demand has actually gone up. Because the pandemic has sort of pushed certain sectors into the realm of essential services, video conferencing, streaming video, social media, ed tech, fintech, for example. All the firms that are helping people navigate through this pandemic, the required IT infrastructure essentially become essential services for their customers and therefore for our customers. What we've tried to do is try and be as flexible as possible when it comes to dealings with customers. We've tried to be commercially flexible and creative. There's a lot of sectors which are hurting right now. There's a lot of sectors who have problems with payments, etc. And we've been able to look at some creative solutions because we have long-standing relationships with these customers. We're also trying to digitize a lot of our delivery modules. And we're trying to make sure that the virtualization, or the fact that these customers have now shifted to a realm where delivery is hit hard because of the fact that there are lockdowns in most countries and in the countries where we have our data centers. we're trying to digitize the delivery aspect of it as much as possible and trying to take away as much of the manual intervention as we could while still retaining our roots of being a good customer service shop. This is sort of had, I mean, the inroads that David spoke about and Sujit will speak about later is helping us sort of get into better relationships with our customers, and also it sort of helps us have a sustainable business plan and a technology module for the future as well. Because the one thing that this will do, the coronavirus epidemic will do, is that it's going to push a lot of these timelines of digital transformation for our customers up off the planning stage where they've probably been for a long time. And the timelines to get these digital transformation projects done are going to shrink. We as BDX, and I think the larger data center industry, just sort of has to scramble and make sure that we are in the right position to be able to access these opportunities and support these opportunities when we do, when we are able to close them as well. I think the right mix of people are on this call as well, and we have the right mix of technology and people to make sure that this happens in the next few quarters and sustain this over the longer term for PDX as well.
Wow, that's really impressive. I need to get you on to CNBC so you can talk about the Asia Pacific market. That was an amazing insight there. And it must be very gratifying for you and the team as well to help your customers navigate this pandemic, particularly if you talk about, you mentioned healthcare clients and hospitals and others that are helping people as they shift to video and telehealth, telemedicine. That must feel really great to help them. And of course, while this is affecting your customers, it's also affecting you as individuals and your families. David, how have you at BDX kind of weathered this perfect storm, as it were? How are you guys navigating through this as a team and collaboratively as a company?
Yeah, I think the honest answer here is, just like anyone else in this global pandemic, in these uncertain times, the best we can. Right? As you mentioned, yes, we are fortunate to be in Hong Kong, close to the epicenter in China. We have had early clues about what's going on, and we were able to act swiftly, doing things like running business continuity planning and doing dry runs, testing, quickly implementing safety precautionary measures in our sites and in our offices to protect our staff and customers. And just going around and contacting, communicating with our customers and just reassuring them that we are an essential service and our goal is to be up and running and to keep their IT infrastructure operational. But we've also had to realize the implications of various travel restrictions put in place by so many governments and countries, as we are a globally dispersed team, as our assets are. So in mid-March, I, for one, made a decision to travel to Nanjing, China. I think someone just posted a question on chat as well. As we have a data center build project going on in China, so I wanted to make sure that I can be on the ground locally for a few months to ensure a successful build of that data center. We're about 75% complete there on phase one of a 2 data center campus project in Nanjing that'll deliver anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 racks, upwards of 25 to 30 megawatts. So with a tight schedule that has had impact due to COVID-19 and uncertainty in the near future travel restrictions, I decided to go and station myself there so I can ensure a successful completion and to open doors to get it to RFS, ready for service. So just a little personal story, when I actually took off from Hong Kong, there were no travel restrictions. So I didn't anticipate anything going wrong. But as soon as I landed, all I heard was my name and the rest in Mandarin, which I can't speak, so don't understand. Someone tapped me on my shoulder and said, "You stay." So everyone exited the plane and I was the only one left. And they, after several minutes that felt like hours, told me to deplane. And there were two police officers and a couple of guys in hazmat suits waiting for me. And after a 2 to 3 hour interview session at the airport, I was taken directly into compulsory quarantine. Now, compulsory quarantine these days are nothing. Like every country is doing it, right? But back then, when it wasn't planned, it was kind of a nerve-wracking experience. So that was nearly 8 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't 8 years, David. So that's all.
It seems like 8 centuries, I'm sure, David.
Yeah, and I'm
Any
excited.
other thing? Yeah, please, David, go ahead.
Yeah, and the data center construction is coming along nicely. There has been a little bit of a delay, and I'll be proud to share more of that in a couple of months.
Yeah, well, that's incredible. And in this age of high tech and automation and low touch, we forget it is people and teamwork and teams that deliver. It's not all tech. So congratulations on that in an incredibly tough environment. But going back to the 30,000 foot
Ivan,
view,
just one more thing.
Sure.
Just one more thing that we would want to add. As this pandemic has shown that the investments in digital transformation are going to reap rich dividends. Across our operations teams, a lot of these teams are working from home, right? Our entire GST, if you look at it, is working from home. A lot of the staff, IT staff, are working from home, and there still hasn't been any disruption, right? And the way we have digitized the dashboards, the way we have digitized the connectivity, and a secure way of connecting into the entire ecosystem, data center ecosystem, that investment has ensured that there is not a single minute of downtime in any of your activities.
Yeah, that's so impressive. And thank God for the work that you and leaders in this space are doing. It's hard to imagine the current lockdown pandemic without the fundamental infrastructure like yours that's been deployed successfully. But so taking a 30,000 foot view of the industry, Braham, what will the data center space look like as we emerge? What will the 2.0 of the industry be like as we emerge from the pandemic and try to get back to a new normal?
Well, let's just go back to last year when I think it was July, and Amsterdam actually banned the construction of data centers in Holland, at least in Amsterdam, citing excessive power usage as the reason. And then the whole of last year, one of the talking points in Asia was the fact that China too had put a hold on data center build-outs in its major cities. Well, then, fast forward to now, during this pandemic, when data centers are center stage and being cited by almost every nation as critical infrastructure. Without the data center, you're not going to have an effective internet, and you will also not have effective protection for customers' IT infrastructure, which they need in today's world, as David and Sujit pointed out. When you can't move, you're locked in. The only way you are going to connect is through telecommunications and through your IT infrastructure, through video conferencing, and through, even WhatsApp and Zoom and TikTok. All of these are hosted by data centers. A lot of them with us, but a lot more with our associates in this industry, with the other data centers. So the sort of, I won't call it good news, because nothing in this pandemic, it just changed. The fact is that a lot of data centers like ours have seen an uptick in business as a result of this huge increase in internet traffic and in people sweating their IT infrastructure because their staff are working from home. So that is one side, one edge of the double-edged sword. While the demand has definitely gone up, we also have problems to meet the demand. I mean, I can't add on infrastructure. Look what's happened to David. I mean, he's effectively sequestered in Nanjing. He can't move. I have a problem elsewhere. He can't move there. The good news is, being in Nanjing, the construction in Nanjing is going along very nicely. Thank you. However, let's say David was not there. Let's say David was still in Hong Kong. I was in Hong Kong. The team was in Hong Kong, and Nanjing, and the blockade came into effect. Let's say, yeah, we couldn't go there. The construction would be in the hand of our contractors, all great people, but we would not be there. And you can only imagine, $200 million construction going on without the operators there to guide it through. I built a woodshed a few years ago in my backyard in Oakton, Virginia, and I made sure I was standing there all the time. And this is a $200 million structure. Luckily for us, David was there. But that's the other edge of the double-edged sword. While there is an uptick in business, we can't travel. We have these restrictions that prevent us from effectively getting our resources together, building 2 extra floors in Singapore, adding on something in Guangzhou to my data center there. It is a challenge, and I'm not, I don't for a moment want to say that this is only ours. Other people are faring a lot worse. But you asked me, how is this business going to shape up? Well, we are going to see an uptick in demand. At the same time, if these restrictions continue, we are going to have some issues in being able to meet the demand. Am I asking for the restrictions to be removed? Absolutely not. We have to go with the science. If that's what's needed, that's what's needed. But it is impacting business, both, and I've told you both the pros and the cons.
Yeah, that's really helpful, and thanks for that insight. Let's go back to David. He sort of emerged as the unsung hero of this call. So David, you're obviously seeing customer challenges firsthand. What specific challenges have you seen with customers, and how have you helped them solve them in this era of 1000x increase in video usage, or data traffic exploding? What are the specific challenges that you've seen firsthand?
Yeah, Evan, I think I share in the fact that everyone on this call truly enjoys talking to our customers and listening to our customers. And during this unprecedented time, companies have quickly adapted in how they do work. And our meetings with them have changed to virtual meetings. Of course, the one common thing that we hear from all the customers is the challenges that they have with sending their staff to our sites. Engineers and technicians that have to carry out deployment projects, serve their IT equipment to break fix. We stepped in and we were available to really lend a hand where, for example, multinational companies sending engineers to Singapore couldn't get in. So we have, used our remote hand services. Anywhere from receiving, unpacking, inventorying, installations, labeling, cabling, name it. Anything that requires you to host your IT equipment in our data centers, we've been able to help with. And a lot of that has helped them, keep their project deadlines, not canceling their projects. We've also had to get creative in how we do, pre and post sales type presentations and things like customer acceptance. We've been able to do through virtual meetings with the use of pre-recorded and live feed virtual tours, which, sometimes comes with challenges, but it's way better than either delaying or, having people travel and take that risk. We've also seen requests for an increase in requests for BCP space. This is where we provide 24/7, accessible rooms with workstations and power and connectivity as companies move to put their own BCP plans in place. So all in all, we've been able to step up and answer to the call of the challenges of the lockdowns and the travel restrictions.
That's great to hear. Thanks for that. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the economics of the industry. As we all know, the economies of the world have been literally turned upside down, and there is no forecast regarding how things will exactly recover. Mayank, what does that mean in terms of investment for you at BDX? I mean, how do you decide on things like return on investment and where to invest and how much, given the uncertainty that everyone is facing?
So, thanks, Evan. And let me give you a very, very sort of focused view just on data centers, just on BDX. And let me quote Satya Nadella on this. The thing that has moved the most during this COVID-19 crisis has been innovation and time. What the innovation which used to take 6 months to a year to happen today happens in 3 months, 3 weeks. So we are, and more importantly, all of it happens online. Translating to it coming back to a data center. So to that extent, yes, we are absolutely confident about whatever used to happen, in the earlier IT time frames of 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years of automation is now a matter of weeks. So we are absolutely sort of gung-ho on being able to capitalize on the opportunity. I mean, vague as it may sound, weird as it may sound, but yes, because the digital move to the digital move has been sort of compressed in time, it is really a great time for data centers and telecom companies to sort of make the difference and enable all our customers to make it happen a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's impressive. And you do business in some really interesting and dynamic marketplaces. I'm thinking of Mumbai, which is a fascinating and growing ecosystem of tech companies, or Singapore, which is, a world-class hub of economic activity. How are those markets doing given the challenges?
So even those markets are, from a technology perspective, just going through the roof. And why limit ourselves to Singapore and India? Talk about Indonesia. And any country with, so Indonesia, for instance, the 250 million population, the amount of, also the pace that we've seen in terms of adoption of cloud and moving everything to a variable cost model is very, very encouraging. So for India, for Indonesia, and sort of more so for India, because the network element of being able to talk to a data center and get your responses in real time is much better in India as compared to Indonesia. It really is going to be a serious explosion.
Fantastic.
So,
well, I'd encourage you to invest in markets that have great food and restaurants like Singapore and Mumbai, so I can come and do a site visit. That's my main priority once we begin traveling again.
We did pick up an asset in Singapore recently, even. That we picked up, and yes, that's been going very well for us. So when we picked it up, it was like 50% of the capacity full. We are already looking at 80% of the capacity being full before the year end.
Wow, it's amazing how resilient some of these economies are, given the devastation of this pandemic. So shifting gears a little bit from just access and connectivity to our favorite topic, which is security and data security and privacy. Sujit, how has all this demand for access for remote workers, now we're all remote, affected your thinking around security topics? We're all much more vulnerable outside of the bubble of the enterprise and corporate life. What does that mean from the, you and the data center perspective?
I think what we're seeing is as people get more online, as people start working from home, and the Chinese walls between a corporate office and what you do in the home, the private home versus what you do, inside a corporate security environment, that's crashed, right? Just to give you statistics, there is a 667% increase in cyber attacks, right, across the globe. If I want to look at, I generally look at the statistics in terms of a digital map. If I want to look at that, I wouldn't see the globe anymore. The size of the attacks have ensured that I can't see anything except black lines, right? Now, what does it mean for us? Right, it means that for some of our customers who depend on us for the security, we have to become much more vigilant. Thankfully, we have invested in building our digital platforms to be much more secure. Our entire ecosystem is protected by our own platform, which is BDX Armor, which is basically a security orchestration platform, which has got inbuilt scanning engines, which has got an ability to look at all the data that flows through our digital ecosystem and then pick up any flow which is malicious and then trigger a ticket for further investigation. What it means is that while the digital ecosystem is booming, at the same point of time, security will become some kind of a foundational layer, to take the digital economy has to have that as a foundational layer. And that is what we are seeing. And I'm glad to say that BDX Armor, which we at some point of time we were thinking, what is the ROI of this tool? This tool has not just showed ROI, this tool has been a savior for us. So that's how we have seen the security scenarios panning out.
Yeah, no, security is no longer an afterthought. It's fundamental, as is encryption in my point of view. So it's great to see you applying those best practices. So just to wrap things up before Q&A, maybe go back to Braham. I'm for one, I'm looking to get 2020 behind me and forget about this year. But in all seriousness, can you look into 2021 already in terms of your planning and execution? Do you have any light at the end of the tunnel as an industry and as a society? What are your thoughts on next year, even though we're not quite through halfway of this year?
So if you can hear me, you said, let's try and forget this year. I don't think this year is going to let us forget it. It's not going to happen. And that's because it has changed the very fundamentals in our lives, the way we do business, the way we connect with our loved ones. I see the whole world doing the Indian Namaste now. No one's going to be shaking hands anytime soon to begin with. So also, from an economic point of view, I see the travel industry being altered forever, to at least to the extent that corporations, businesses are going to now look back at what happened in 2020. And this is very important. And they will say to themselves, we actually didn't do badly at all through virtual connections with our customers, with ourselves. I think it's Twitter, or was it Google? I think, yes, it's Twitter, which has announced that their employees can work from home indefinitely. They're not going to wait for, it's not that once the pandemic is over, people have to go back to work. No, they can work from home because it works. Me talking to you this way on Zoom, it works. I don't have to travel to shake your hand anymore. We can do business like this, and this is going to fundamentally alter business. It's not going to be bad for us. It's definitely going to have a negative impact on the travel industry, which I regret deeply, being an avid traveler myself. But for the IT infrastructure, for the data center business, which is an integral part of that infrastructure, we host our customers' IT infrastructure. We connect it to its virtual infrastructure. We allow the customer to look through a single pane and be able to view it all with the help of our telco partners. So all of this is going to become even more mainstream, even more permanent than it is now. So you were asking, the question was, how do I see 2021 and ahead? I see, the data center. I don't see for example, things like what happened with Amsterdam, banning data centers in the city. That is, I doubt it's going to hold out for much longer. Or maybe I've not been keeping myself abreast. Maybe it's already over. You can't not have data centers in your city, in your country. You have to promote them, build them, and ensure that your companies and your country's IT infrastructure is housed securely, because that's what you're going to depend on in the near future for your business purposes, for your connectivity, for getting in touch with your customers, for letting your employees keep in touch with you, keeping in touch with the central office. So things have changed, my friend, and I think they've changed permanently, the way we do business and the way we conduct ourselves.
Wow, thanks for that. That was some food for thought for sure. Let's open it up to Q&A from the audience. I see we have a couple questions, and remind folks, you can tweet at us at hashtag BDXPERT, BDXpert, and the Twitter handle is at BDXWorld, one word, and we'll be happy to address questions or chat with you offline there as well. One question I see is markets. We've talked about quite a wide range of markets that you're in. What does the future hold in terms of new markets? We talked about Indonesia, but Thailand, the Philippines, elsewhere. Where are you going next, I guess, is the main interest.
So if I'll take that. There are about 15 central hubs for the internet today, 15 to 20, and the internet congregates there. It's a lot better than when 9/11 happened, when there were 3 or 4 hubs, and if those guys had taken one of them out, the devastation would have been enormous. Today, 15 hubs, but the internet was designed to be distributed even more. It was supposed to be resilient. The reason we in America, our Department of Defense and BBN, they came up with this great idea, this great American invention, the internet, was to have it diversified, have the whole network, the brains of the network spread across. And having 15 choke points is not good enough. And our strategy, the BDX strategy, is to not focus on these choke points, and rather build out data center and take the internet onto the edges. So the countries you mentioned, spot on. The Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam are where we want to build out on the edges of the network. And host the edge nodes there for our big friends, the OTTs, the hyperscalers. We don't want to build their huge hyperscale data server farms. That's not our expertise. I think who was it? Abhijit, who alluded to that. Our expertise is to build out these edge nodes, and we populate that with the edge pops for these giants, and then those pops then create the gravity to attract the enterprise customers that we are good at serving. So our personal objectives dovetail very neatly with where the internet is going right now, and that is getting even more dispersed.
Wow, fantastic. We're incredibly interconnected now, so everywhere is an edge opportunity, it seems. Another question from Joshua. In terms of onboarding, you know, how does BDX differentiate itself? As we know, onboarding is, you know, a BSS and OSS challenge. It's a, you know, a lot of challenges there to get customers on board. What is your sort of secret sauce there at BDX when it comes to onboarding? And that's for David or anyone really on the call.
David?
Yeah. So we like to kind of really deliver a customized experience. What the customer gets with us is a named service manager, a named account manager, ultimately a named project manager that walks through all the requirements to the solutions engineering. And of course, depending on, you know, the size of the deployment, it can take anywhere from, you know, a couple of weeks to several months. You know, we work with large enterprise customers all the time, and we're working on now where it's a, you know, multi-month project. So just a very hand-holding, custom project management, you know, routine weekly meetings, daily stand-up calls, very, very white glove service type of onboarding experience for those customers.
Great. We are sort of the Rolls Royce of onboarding. That's impressive to hear. Another question here from Payush, and it wouldn't be a tech call if we didn't talk about AI, artificial intelligence. Now we talked about automation, but I guess AI is taking automation to the next level, right? Are you looking at ways to bring in AI techniques or tools to take your management to the next level?
I'll give that to Sujit to answer, but I'll just tell you one thing. I'll make a quick point. Our intention is to be heavily automated platform. So we are a central platform, and which connects our data center cluster back to it, and the data center themselves are minimally manned and hugely automated. Where in this process AI fits in, Sujit should tell us. Sujit?
I think there are a couple of things that we're trying to do which are unique to BDX. And when I talk about the AI piece, you know, part of the digital journey is how do we automate, right? And when we talk about automation, it's all about which are the things that you can make self-learning, right? And that is where AI comes in, right? So if I talk about the OSS here, the OSS in a data center is the BMS and the DSIM, right? You do the capacity planning, you look at managing the infrastructure, which is the cooling plants, which are so critical to the data center, and the capacity planning is all about how much space and power that you are going to be able to sell, right? So in each of these elements, what you're trying to look at is how AI kicks in. So how do you look at the environment, right? How do you look at the environmental sensors giving you data? And then how do you use that data from a data lake and an AI engine running on top of it is what we have already, you know, done some proof of concepts to show that this is the saving that we can get. And that's one piece of it. The second piece of it is, you know, how do you get AI to look at, you know, automating some of the mundane tasks that the SOC or the service operating centers do. So if you look at a lot of the events that come out, right, is there a way that an AI engine can pick up a particular event and know what exactly needs to be done as the triaging for triaging that event? For example, if it means pulling out data from the BMS server and then adding that data onto a ticket in the BMS server and automatically giving that ticket to a specific facility guy and figuring out if that facility guy is actually sitting on his on his laptop or on his monitor, and then deciding if it's not there, sending it to 3 more people so that nothing gets missed out. So that's again AI in play. So there cannot be in the new paradigm that we're talking about, there cannot be any place where an AI engine is not in play, right? So we are trying to bring in machine learning, we're trying to bring in node learning, and we're trying to bring in AI engines in every aspect of the digitization projects that we picked up.
Wow, impressive. Well, I can't wait to hear some stories about how that will be adopted over the next weeks and months and years. Another question here online from Chris Bidmead out of the UK is asking about your intent or interest in more established markets like the UK. I could name other markets, but what about those existing, very well-established markets as far as colo and data center goes? And I could ask any of you, maybe David.
Sorry, no, I was just saying we almost acquired a data center in the UK and then backed out for a variety of reasons. Our focus continues to be for now in Asia and on the edge, as I explained. Doesn't mean we don't have customers from the UK, from France, from the continental Europe, and from the US. These customers, we have valuable logos from the West who use us to host the infrastructure in the emerging markets in Asia, as well as in Hong Kong and China. So our customers are there. We look after them. However, having data centers there is not part of our current strategy. But if David and Mayank, I saw them wanting to answer, make some comments.
No, that makes sense. I totally get it. We're hyper interconnected, so location is one of those gray areas these days. In any case, so thanks everyone, and look forward to keeping in touch. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for great evening. Thank you.